Alright guys, get yourself a fucking massive cup of tea. We're not talking just a standard mug, we're talking one of them Sports Direct, absolute industrial size 200 litre cups of tea. Because today we're going to talk about a really controversial game that has had a lot of development delays, a lot of weird gameplay design choices. They had some really bad press. You know, there's a lot going on with this game. There's a lot to unpack. I'm not going to unpack everything. I'm just going to talk very lightly about certain points, but there's been a closed beta that I managed to get access to, so this is mainly just going to be my gameplay from that, my thoughts and opinions, and if the game's any good. Because, you know, a lot of people have been, I don't want to say looking forward to this, they've had a keen eye, and they want to know what's going on. They want to know what the gameplay is, and is it any good. It's surprising because I was just about to make a video about Skull and Bones anyway, and I was going to take the old trailers and compare them to the new ones and see what differences I could spot. I'd already seen multiple differences in the gameplay trailer. You know, some of the art style seems to have changed on the ships themselves. There was this cladding that you could upgrade your ship to, and it just looked fucking weird, to be honest. It was weird. I don't know what was going on there. It completely ruined the immersion of the game, but they seem to have removed that. I can't find it in game, and I can't see it in any of the trailers. So yeah, but since they've released a beta anyway, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to review the trailers. We're just going to go straight in with some gameplay. I'm going to see what the game's like, and then just give it a bit of a rating. So straight away you're introduced to the game with a start mission, like many games. Skull and Bones does this very, very well. It gives you a more upgraded ship than what you actually initially start with, which I think is brilliant. You know, it's like a little bit of a cock tease to, you know, this is what you can get. And I love it when games do that. They show you what kind of, not the end game, but maybe the mid game is like right at the start to try and hook you and keep you interested. Skull and Bones does this incredibly well. The one flaw is it shows you what the combat is like straight away, and this is the biggest issue at the moment, Skull and Bones. I don't know what's gone on at the Ubisoft studio, but seriously, the combat is very questionable. Everything shoots well too fast. The cannons have no weight to them whatsoever. The arc on the cannons isn't so bad. They do have a bit of drop down, and you do have to lead your shots. But they just fire so quickly. It's like rapid fire and shotguns. So the combat is just, it's the one thing that's just going to drag it down, and I'm going to keep coming back to that throughout the review. But enough about the combat, we'll move on to the next part that you're introduced to, and that is the character creation, which sadly, yet again, is a bit of a letdown. It's your bog standard, The Division, Ghost Recon. In fact, I'd even say the Ghost Recon engine has better character creation than this. But it's a standard Ubisoft character creation. I'd say it's even outdated almost. You know, The Division had better character customization than what this currently does. I'm guessing that's because they're going to try and sell you beards and moustaches and hairstyles. Yeah, it's quite upsetting to see that they haven't got quite a lot going on. You know, you can see here that they only had 6 beard options, which is quite a bit of a letdown, considering that one of them options is basically no beard at all. So really, you only had 5 beard options. As I said, I imagine they're going to try and sell you that, or maybe there's some earnable beards in game, who knows. And the next one that confused me was the fishing mechanic, and this is a mechanic that we see kind of repeated again and again, not just the fishing, but the lumberjacking, the resource gathering. That's your wood, your vegetables, your fruit. All of that has kind of a little mini game to it. It just doesn't feel like it fits this game. It feels like it was made for another game, and they kind of just, maybe the development stopped for that game, so they quickly just threw it into this to make sure it wasn't wasted, you know, time or development. But overall, it just feels like it just doesn't land. It doesn't land. It doesn't fit this game, and it doesn't fit the style of this game. We'll talk about the settings, the graphical fidelity, and the different settings you can choose. Yet again, Ubisoft really good at this usually. However, in this game I was having performance issues, and I was struggling to kind of tune out this blur that the game also almost had at a distance. Everything kind of looked blurry and like quite far off, anything kind of above 500 meters, but that wasn't due to motion blur or depth of field. I had both of them disabled. There was a lot of settings you could fiddle around with though, as there always is in Ubisoft games, and the performance, even though I had issues, overall it was quite stable. There wasn't too many bugs and there wasn't too many crashes. Next is a complete mixed bag. What we're talking about next is the sound design. I don't even know where to begin on this. This is such an up and down roller coaster of emotions when it comes to sound design. The music is top notch. There's sea shanties and singing on your boat as you're sailing around, which is fucking amazing. Really, really good. It's exactly what you want from a pirate game. But then when you're in a battle, it turns into this weird mishmash of loads of people calling out, loads of different voice lines. Almost feels like there's even multiple soundtracks going on. There's just too much. It's just chaos to the ears. It's really hard to audibly hear what's actually happening. You know, if someone calls out that there's an enemy ship coming, which, you know, your NPCs on your ship do call out when there's a ship coming, you can't hear it because you've got bells ringing, you've got muskets firing, and I think it's just a little bit too much. So outside of the battles, the music design's really good. In the battles, it's just totally chaotic. It's just a bit messy.
No one ahead! Ruby, don't be done for! Look, Captain! That's the ship we need! Oh yeah! I hope you'll try this out!
Okay, now we've gone kind of through the big topics that I wanted to discuss around this game. Let's talk about what you actually do. What is the bread and butter of this game? I'm sure you're watching this game, well, what the fuck do you do? Like, what's there to do in this game other than just shoot ships? There seemed to be a lot of missions. There was a ton of missions, in fact. There was a bounty board where you could collect bounties for NPCs. There seems to be some PvP elements, though I couldn't figure out how to get into them. There's open world events that pop up. So there was one that popped up for me that said there was a trader being escorted by a fleet, and I saw it in the distance. However, I wasn't able to catch it in the ship I was in. There are forts that you raid. Yet again, none of this is on land, so this is a fort that you roll up to in your ship. There's a little animation where your guys get off and start raiding, and then you have to defend against waves of enemies. It was really hard solo, so you had to do this with other players, which I like. You know, I like anything that forces a bit of multiplayer, so that was really enjoyable. So it seems your main time is going to kind of be spent running missions, and I feel like there's different outposts, because the beta only had around 30 to 40% of the explorable map. So I feel like there was quite a lot of outposts that we didn't have yet explored. So maybe it's going from each outpost and 100% completing them all, as well as doing open world event. So what's my final verdict on the game? Well, you know what? I surprisingly had a lot of fun with this. But if I had to give it a rating out of 10, I'd have to give it a 6. It's got a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of areas they need to improve on and work on, and I think some of the design choices are a bit iffy. Like, what's going on with the weapons? The weapons just feel so unimmersive and so unhistorical. I can handle the arcadey feel of the ships. That's fine with me. This isn't why I didn't even bring it up in this video, because I was fine with the way the ships handle. But the way they shoot and the guns that they have just feel so... it doesn't feel like they were meant for this game. But if I had to give this game a rating out of 10, I'd still give it a 6. And that's because I had a lot of fun with it. I genuinely did. However, I do feel like the hours for this game may not warrant the price tag. They're asking £50 for just the standard box price, and that's insane to me. I can't see this game having maybe more than 40 hours worth of gameplay. And if we're doing the whole pound to hour ratio, then that doesn't add up. You're not even getting a full pound for every hour with that math. So, would I recommend buying it? This one I'm going to have to put back to you. That's up to you. I had fun. I'm probably going to get it, but I am going to be cautiously optimistic about how many updates this is going to get, since this is a live service game. They've shown that development took ages. I don't know if it's going to get the TLC it needs, but, you know, I'm still going to give it a go and see what it's like at launch.